What's up, YouTube? It's Tom Driver, and I'm back with the third iteration of Drive. This is the third and final iteration I built in the summer of 2016. And just to follow up from the last video, I had decided that it was time for me to focus in on software. Specifically, I felt like I needed a mobile application that did basically the same thing the Python script did in the big three. So I began working on an iOS app using Apple's native language called Swift and their software for building iOS apps called Xcode. It was a lot of fun, actually. It was really intuitive, but also I didn't have any courses, through Swift or Xcode. So there was a pretty big learning curve for me to learn how to use their language. But out of everything I've learned, honestly, Apple's languages and their application Xcode was the most intuitive for a beginner. So I would definitely recommend giving this a try if you're maybe younger and you don't know if coding is right for you yet. So yeah, this app, it basically just tracks your weight and reps again, gives you some points in a little bit different way. And if you are using like the most current version of Drive or you have used it, it's essentially just that exercise tab, right? It doesn't include a leaderboard or a profile, but it's just a way for you to create exercises and keep track of, well, specifically weightlifting exercises, and then keep track of the weight and reps. So here you go. I'm about to demo it. All right. So when you open up the app, it's going to open up to your My Exercises page, where you're simply just going to have a list of all of your different exercises, and it's going to include the muscle group that they belong to, and then that number next to the exercise is actually the total amount of gains that you have for that exercise. Now, in the top right corner, you'll see a filter button. If you click on that, then a filter menu pops up with all of your different muscle group choices. So you can filter out your exercises based on one of those. You'll also notice in the top right-hand corner a plus button. This is how you create a new exercise. So that'll pull up the Add Exercise page, where you can simply type in the name of a new exercise. And then if you click on the exercise type bar, it's going to pull up another page that I don't have a screenshot of, but basically allows you to select, what muscle group this exercise belongs to. Then if you press done, it'll add that to your list of exercises. Now, if we click on an actual exercise, it's going to bring us into that exercise's profile page, essentially, where you're going to be able to see all of the sets that you have done for that exercise. So the first set is 235 pounds by 1 rep. Now, if you click on the plus button in the top right-hand corner of this page, it is going to bring up the new set page, which you'll be able to add in a new set and enter in the amount of weight and reps you do on the convenient number pad. You can hit cancel or press done to add this set. Now, I pulled up these two side by side, and these two tabs are essentially both record tabs. Now, back in this version of the app, I had two different sets of records. One was called stacks, which are your weight records based on each rep count, and cuts, which are your rep records for each weight that you've done. So, it allows two different ways of tracking your records, right? One of them is like, okay, what's the most amount of weight I can put up for one rep? And then the other is, okay, how many possible reps can I do for this specific weight? In the end of the day, I ended up cutting out cuts. It's kind of funny, but if you've used one of the more recent versions of the apps, we just have a section called records, and that is basically what the stack records are here. The star system shows you how many different records you've set in this category. And just to illustrate a little bit further, I'm going to show you your sets, right? So on the left, it has your total sets, and on the right, it has your stacks. And as you see, we did 185 by 5, and then we broke that record and we did 205 by 5. So that explains why there's 2 stars next to the 5 rep max record. Same goes for stacks, right? If we first did 185 by 3, then 185 by 5, set a new record, then 185 by 8, we've set 3 different records in the 185 category. It explains why 185 has 3 stars next to it. So the record page, it'll just show the number of the highest, the best record you've ever set, but it also gives you this star system to show you, in which category you've been making the most improvements. So as I was saying, iOS's software, Xcode, is really intuitive and easy to use. In fact, they have this nice storyboard feature. And as you can see, I have all of my different pages laid out. And you can actually drag from one button to the next page, right? And the Xcode will fill in, automatically generate some code for you that basically, opens up the new page instead of writing all that code yourself. So I did have to write a lot of code for this. One of the biggest challenges I had was probably the local storage, right? How to store all of your data separately. I didn't use a database. It just used iOS's kind of like local storage, so it stored it on your own phone. But that was a little bit challenging for me to set up. But when it came to like navigating between the pages and stuff, it was really convenient that they had, this storyboard where I can drag and click and move things, and it would auto-populate some of the code for me already. So yeah, I would highly recommend checking out Xcode if you want to build an app. I had a lot of fun with this version, and it was pretty easy to learn as a beginner. At this point, I actually stopped working on the native iOS app, and I actually had to stop working on Drive altogether for a little bit. So I'm about to tell that story just to kind of connect this video up to the next one. And it was also a major setback for Drive, and so I think it's an important part of the story. So all of summer 2016, I was working on all these different versions, hoping that come fall, I could get Drive approved as my capstone and work on it during school as my capstone project. A lot of students through the Integrated Science and Technology Department at JMU actually have, managed to get an app, as their capstone project to work on. So I built all this on my old MacBook that the screen was cracked and I had to mirror it on a TV and it was kind of on its final leg. And so I hit a point where they released a new iOS update for my phone, and I could no longer put the app from the laptop to my phone. So I couldn't show it off to like my capstone advisor to get it approved. And the screen on my MacBook was actually so messed up that you couldn't, see it from the laptop. You had to be connected to a TV or something. And so I tinkered with it for most of the fall semester, trying to figure out a way to, get it on my phone or, pull it up on one of the school laptops or something like that. And eventually I just had to go in and kind of pitch it to the capstone advisor without being able to show off the application itself. And at that point, he had too many projects, and I had to join one of the other capstone projects. So at this point, it was a pretty big failure, I would say, for me, because I was really hoping to spend the next 2 years, right, on my capstone project, also working on Drive and sort of aligning, schoolwork, with my outside work on Drive. And I ended up joining a really cool capstone. I'm really, glad that I did that, I guess. But I would have been able to get so much more work done, right, if Drive became my actual capstone project. So I really didn't have time to work on it during the next school year because all of a sudden I had this new capstone project to work on. And in the summer of 2017, I got an internship with a company called Ventera, who started teaching me about JavaScript, HTML, CSS, and just web languages like that. And I ended up switching to those type of languages. So this is the end of the road for the iOS app. I really enjoyed working on it, and I would recommend anyone to check out their software. But yeah, in the next video, I'll pick back up and explain the versions that I worked on in summer of 2017. Thanks again for watching, guys.